Princess Kakuti'S Escape, The Shocking Secret of Her Ogre Husband, A Tale of Love and Betrayal. In the kingdom of Kiwagazi, nestled between vast forests and shimmering rivers, there ruled a mighty and wise king named Mutesa. His kingdom flourished under his reign, known far and wide for its fertile lands and the courage of its people. King Mutesa had 4 sons, all brave warriors, but his heart beat strongest for his only daughter, Kakuti. She was the jewel of the kingdom, more beautiful than the moonlit night, with a gentle spirit and a heart as pure as gold. Her presence was said to bring joy to anyone who laid eyes on her. King Mutesa was overprotective of Kakuti, a father's love that grew stronger as the years passed. The thought of her one day being married made his heart ache. He feared no man would be worthy of her, no suitor strong enough to protect her, and no man noble enough to cherish her as she deserved. He had seen many suitors come and go, but none could capture his daughter's heart. It wasn't long before the inevitable day arrived. Kakuti had grown into a woman, and the kingdom buzzed with excitement. It was time for her to choose a husband. The king's advisors suggested that a grand announcement be made, for Kakuti was known far and wide as the most beautiful woman in all the lands. News spread like wildfire, reaching distant villages and even other kingdoms. Soon, suitors from every corner of the land began to arrive at King Mutesa's court, eager to win the heart of the princess. Some suitors were sons of powerful kings from distant realms, each more handsome and regal than the last. Yet, none could impress King Mutesa. His heart was not moved by their titles or their wealth. Kakuti, though, had a different idea. She wanted to choose her own path and find a man who loved her for who she was, not for the riches he possessed or the crown he wore. Seeing his daughter's uncertainty and knowing his own love for her, King Mutesa devised a plan. He announced that any suitor who wished to marry Kakuti must first complete a daunting task, to cut down an ancient tree in the forest and uproot it with nothing but an axe, within 2 hours. This tree was a sacred one, said to be as old as the kingdom itself, its roots entwined deep within the earth. Mutesa believed that the strength and determination required for such a task would reveal the true worth of the man who sought his daughter's hand. The suitors lined up, each eager to prove his worth. They took their axes and hacked at the massive tree, their muscles straining under the effort. Some men worked tirelessly, their hands blistering, their faces red with exertion, but none could even come close to completing the task. The great tree stood tall and defiant, its roots unshaken by the efforts of the strongest men in the land. Then came a man whose name was Torik. He was handsome, energetic, and his eyes burned with a fierce determination. Unlike the others, Torik moved with a grace that seemed almost magical. His strikes were precise, his hands steady, and his body seemed to possess an otherworldly strength. The men watched in awe as Torik worked, and in just under 2 hours, the great tree groaned and fell, its roots torn from the earth. King Mutesa watched in astonishment, his heart filled with both admiration and fear. Could this man truly be worthy of Kakuti? He had proven his strength, but the king knew that strength alone was not enough. He could not shake the feeling that something about Torik was not quite right. Still, the task had been completed, and Mutesa could not go back on his word. He agreed to let Torik marry Kakuti, though his heart remained heavy with doubt. The wedding was a grand affair, with music and dancing filling the air. Kakuti, though beautiful as ever, felt a strange unease in her heart. She had tried to speak to her father about her doubts, but Mutesa, ever so proud, dismissed her concerns. And so, she was married to Torik and left her father's palace to begin her new life in his village. As they traveled to Torik's homeland, Kakuti noticed something strange about her new husband. His kindness seemed forced, his smile too wide, and his gaze too cold. When they arrived at his village, Kakuti felt an overwhelming sense of dread. The village was unlike any she had seen before. It was dark, and the people looked weary and suspicious. She could hear strange sounds in the distance, growls and roars that made her blood run cold. Torik led her to a large hut where a fire blazed in the center of the room. In the midst of the flames, a massive pot simmered, its contents unknown. Kakuti's heart skipped a beat as she realized the truth. She had been tricked. Torik was not the man he seemed to be. He was an ogre, and she was the feast. Just then, Kakuti remembered the gift her grandmother had given her, a wrist bead that was said to protect her in times of danger. The old woman had told her that if ever she sensed danger, she should speak to the bead, and it would guide her. Kakuti did as instructed and spoke to the bead, and to her horror, one of the beads fell off. That was the signal. Without hesitation, Kakuti ran. She fled into the dense forest, her heart pounding in her chest. As she ran, she could hear the terrifying sounds of ogres chasing her, their heavy footsteps shaking the ground beneath her. She prayed to the wrist bead, and as if by magic, a bright light appeared, leading her through the forest. She ran faster, her legs burning with exhaustion, but the bead gave her strength. She could hear the ogres growling behind her, but she kept running, trusting the magic of the bead to guide her. After what felt like an eternity, Kakuti stumbled upon an old woman deep in the forest. The woman, though ancient, had a warm smile that put Kakuti at ease. The old woman was a witch, but unlike the dark forces that pursued Kakuti, she was kind and benevolent. She gave Kakuti a magical stick that would help her find her way back home and protect her from the ogres. With the magic stick in hand, Kakuti continued her journey, the sounds of the ogres growing fainter with each step. She ran for hours, never once stopping to rest, her heart filled with hope. Eventually, she reached her father's kingdom, exhausted but safe. She collapsed into her father's arms, telling him the full truth about her husband and the dangers she had faced. King Mutesa, heartbroken and filled with guilt, wept for his daughter. He had been blinded by his ego, unable to see the truth before it was too late. He apologized profusely to Kakuti, asking for her forgiveness. He vowed never to let his pride stand in the way of her happiness again. Kakuti, wise beyond her years, forgave him and promised to choose her own path. 1 year later, Kakuti married the love of her life, a kind and noble man who treated her with the love and respect she deserved. They lived in peace, ruling over the kingdom with wisdom and compassion. And though King Mutesa never stopped loving his daughter, he knew that true happiness came not from control, but from trust. And so, Kakuti's tale became a legend, passed down through the generations, a story of love, trust, and the power of choice. The moral of the story is that love should be based on trust, respect, and genuine connection, not on control or pride. Overprotectiveness, driven by ego and fear, can blind us to the true needs and desires of those we love. True happiness comes when we allow others to make their own choices, trust their judgment, and support them in finding their own path to fulfillment. It also teaches the importance of listening to our instincts and being courageous enough to seek help when in danger. For more African folk tales with life lessons, please subscribe, like and comment below. Thank you.